Workers' Compensation Insurance by Emily Moore. Workers' compensation insurance provides benefits to employees who are injured or become ill as a result of their work. This coverage is required to make payments towards medical costs resulting from occupational injuries and partial replacement of the injured worker's lost wages. It is structured to be an employee remedy for restitution after such injury or illness. Some exceptions exist for willful injuries and gross negligence. Each state has its own set of requirements about which employees are obligated to obtain workers' compensation insurance. Some states exclude agricultural employees with less than a specified number of employees. Some states exclude self-employed workers, while others provide an option for coverage. Some states exclude corporate officers and limited liability corporations without other employees. Some factors include the industry sector of the employer, the minimum number of employees, and the length of employment. All medical expenses are the insurance provider's responsibility with no out-of-pocket cost to the claimant. These covered costs include the initial treatment, subsequent treatments, as well as physical therapy and vocational rehabilitation. Indemnity payments are dispersed to the employee who misses work for a specific period of time and are paid tax-free. In other words, if the employee is away from work for a number of days surpassing the retroactive period, then they qualify for indemnity payments for that waiting period. Since the early 1900s, premiums for workers' compensation insurance policies have been determined by multiple factors, including the risk classification of the employer, the size of the payroll, and previous claims experience. Each employer is assigned to a work classification according to state-sanctioned rating bureau guidelines. For example, an employee in a classification with greater injury and illness risks and loss costs will have higher premium rates. On the contrary, employers with fewer claims and lower loss costs benefit from lower premiums. The experience modification factor is intended to encourage employers to invest in safety strategies, reducing the risk of injuries. Temporary and permanent disability benefits can be in the form of partial or total benefits. Temporary partial benefits are provided to workers who are away from work for a specified period of time but are able to return to work in a limited capacity that would partially affect their income. Temporary total benefits occur when the worker is unable to be employed in any capacity for a specified period of time. Permanent partial disability payments are provided for workers who may no longer return to work with the capacity to perform their prior duties as a result of their work-related injury. Lastly, permanent total disability is provided to workers who can no longer be employed at any capacity. It is important to recognize, though, that there is a difference between disability coverage and workers' compensation insurance. Disability coverage provides coverage regardless of the cause of the disability. If the work-related injury results in death, death benefits are paid to the survivors of the worker, and in return for this coverage, employees are granted immunity from lawsuits in nearly every case. Lump sum settlements occur when the injured employee and the employer and insurance provider negotiate a mutual agreement. If claims are unable to be settled, they will remain open until all payments for medical treatment, rehab, and indemnity have been completed, and the employee either returns to work, reaches the maximum payment period, retires, or dies. Future obligations on a claim are handled in the form of reserves. These reserves usually represent estimates of the approximate future cost of the claims. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2016, 2.9 million non-fatal workplace injuries were reported, and 5,190 fatal workplace injuries were reported. Thanks.